The galaxy had grown silent after the war. The once shining stars of the Tyrax Alliance now hung over burned worlds. Entire cities floated as ashes in space. The war had not just destroyed ships, it had destroyed hope itself. Everywhere, people whispered the same thing. It's over. There's nothing left to fight for. The Tyrax Alliance had been proud once. They were the oldest union of alien worlds, strong, intelligent, and brave. But the war against the Drax Dominion had crushed them. The Drax didn't only want victory, they wanted everyone else to kneel. Now the Alliance was gone. The last great fleet had fallen near the broken moon of Virelion. Only wrecks remained, drifting like ghosts, and yet, among those cold ruins, a new rumor began to spread. They said a human ship had been seen near the battlefield. No one believed it. Humans had vanished centuries ago, long after their small blue planet was destroyed in a chain of wars they could not win. To most species, humans were myths, stories told to children. But then something strange happened. A signal started echoing across the deep dark of the galaxy, faint, repeating, and old. It came from a dead system where no life should exist. The message was simple. One word, repeated again and again. Hope. Many dismissed it as static. Others called it a trick of ghosts. But one alien didn't. Her name was Karen Val, captain of the Vernus Star. She had fought in the last battles of the war. She had watched her friends die, her world burn, and her home vanish into smoke. And yet, something inside her refused to die. So when her command officers told her to ignore the signal, she did not listen. She turned her ship toward the dead system anyway. Her crew argued. "Captain, this is madness," said her first officer, Rin. "If the Drax patrols find us, we're finished." Karen looked at the dying stars ahead. "If there's even a chance that message is real," she said, "then we must see it with our own eyes." The Vernus Star entered the silent system. Broken asteroids floated like frozen tears. No light, no life, no sound. The scanners found nothing for hours, then something appeared on their radar. A small ship half buried in ice and rock. It was old, far older than any alien design. Its hull carried symbols the crew didn't recognize. Karen stared at it from the bridge screen. "Magnify," she said. The camera zoomed in. Letters appeared, faded but still readable. UNS Hopebringer. Her crew went silent. One whispered, "It can't be, that's human script." Karen's heart pounded. The name was clear. The ship was human. Somehow, after all this time, a piece of humanity had survived. They approached carefully. The human craft was small, maybe an exploration vessel or an escape ship. Its engines were dead, its power low, but the signal still played. Steady, calm, almost peaceful. "Hope," it repeated again and again. Karen ordered a docking maneuver. Her ship locked onto the human vessel with a metallic clang. The air inside was frozen, the corridors filled with dust. She led the exploration team herself. Their boots echoed through the empty passageways. Faded human banners hung from the walls, untouched for centuries. Then they found it, a small control room still glowing faintly blue. In the center, an old transmission device blinked. Karen walked closer and pressed the screen. It showed an image, a human face, young and calm, speaking softly. The voice was cracked with age but clear. "If you can hear this," the human said, "then the stars are still alive. If you can breathe, you can rebuild. Hope is never truly gone." The message looped. Karen stood still. For a long time, no one spoke. Even her soldiers, hardened veterans, felt something stir inside them. She whispered, "How long has this been playing?" Her engineer replied, "Over 200 years, Captain. Maybe more. It's been repeating since the old wars." Karen touched the console gently, as if afraid the image would vanish. "All this time," she said softly, and it never stopped. She looked at the human's calm face, frozen in light. "You kept sending hope to no one, and now? We're here." Suddenly alarms blared. Her ship's AI spoke. "Warning, unidentified fleet detected. Drax signal signatures approaching." Karen froze. The enemy. They had been followed. Her crew rushed to stations. The bridge filled with red light. "Captain, what do we do?" Rin shouted. "We can't fight a Drax squadron." Karen looked at the human screen again. The word hope still blinked. She clenched her fists. "We fight," she said. "As long as this message lives, we fight." The Drax ships appeared from the dark, shadows of war returning to destroy what was left. Karen's ship turned toward them, engines burning bright. In that cold, forgotten system among the ruins of two dead races. One alien ship faced the storm, and on its bridge, a single human word glowed across the screens. Hope. Karen Val stood on the bridge of her ship, the Vernus star, as red lights flashed across every console. The Drax fleet was closing in. The scanners counted 3 destroyers, 1 battleship, and several small interceptors. Her crew moved quickly, fear in their eyes. "Captain, they'll be on us in 5 minutes, shouted Rin, her first officer. "We can't outrun them." Karen's eyes stayed fixed on the frozen human craft outside her window, the UNS Hopebringer. It hung silently against the darkness, its small frame surrounded by drifting ice and debris. She whispered, "We're not leaving it." "Captain?" Rin turned to her in disbelief. "That ship is still sending a signal. Someone may still be alive inside," Karen said firmly. "And I won't abandon it." Her crew exchanged worried looks. Fighting the Drax was suicide, but their captain's voice left no room for argument. "Activate the energy shields. Bring weapons online," Karen ordered. "And keep scanning that human ship. I want to know what's inside." The Drax fleet dropped out of warp, surrounding them like vultures. Their ships were larger, built for destruction, glowing red with energy weapons ready to fire. A voice came through the comms, cold and cruel. "This is Commander Varn of the Drax Dominion. You are trespassing in a restricted war zone. Power down your engines and surrender." Karen pressed the comms button. Her tone was calm but sharp. "This is Captain Karen Vale of the Tyrax Alliance. We are on a rescue mission." "Rescue?" The Drax commander laughed, his voice echoing with mockery. "There's nothing left to rescue. Everything here belongs to the Dominion now. Leave or die." Karen cut the transmission. Her jaw tightened. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The bridge trembled as the first blast struck their shields. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The ship groaned in pain. Her crew held their positions, hearts pounding. "Shields at 60%, shouted Rin. Karen's mind raced. The Drax were stronger, faster, and merciless. They couldn't win a direct battle. She needed time, just a few more minutes, to uncover the mystery inside that human ship. "Captain," called the science officer, "I found something inside the human vessel." "There's a cryopod still active." Karen's eyes widened. "Alive?" "Possibly. Life signs are faint, but yes, there's someone in there." Karen didn't hesitate. "Prepare a boarding team." "I'm going myself." "Captain, you can't," Rin protested. "The Drax will destroy us any second." Karen turned to him, her voice steady. "Then make sure they don't." She grabbed her helmet, sealed her suit, and ran toward the docking bay. The airlock hissed open, and Karen stepped into the cold, dead corridor of the Hopebringer. Her breath echoed inside her helmet. The walls were coated with frost. Every step left a print on the frozen floor. The human ship felt ancient and a piece of history trapped in time. Old screens flickered weakly. The air was still and heavy with silence. "Guide me to the cryopod," she said through the comms. "Straight ahead, lower deck," replied the science officer. "You'll see a chamber marked with human writing." Karen moved carefully, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. She found the door, rusted but intact, and pushed it open. Inside, a single cryopod stood in the center of the room, glowing faint blue. The small screen beside it blinked. Status: active. Occupant: human. Name: Eli Cross. Karen's chest tightened. It was true, a living human, after centuries of extinction. "Captain," Rin's voice came through urgently. "The Drax are boarding us. We can't hold them much longer." Karen looked at the frozen face inside the pod, calm, peaceful, unaware of the chaos outside. She pressed the activation switch. The cryopod hissed, releasing mist as the freezing system disengaged. The human's chest began to move, slow breaths, then his eyes opened. Eli Cross blinked, confused, his voice hoarse. Where am I?" Karen removed her helmet slowly so he could see her face. "You're safe. I'm Captain Karen Vall of the Tyrax Alliance." Eli stared at her pale, scaled skin and glowing eyes. "You're not human." "No," she said softly. "Not anymore. But I think you were trying to talk to us." He frowned, struggling to understand. "Talk to you? How long was I asleep?" Karen hesitated. "Over 200 years, maybe more." Eli's expression went blank. 2 centuries. Everyone he ever knew, gone. His world, his people, and dust. He sat up slowly, shivering. Then the war's over? Karen nodded. Your war, yes. But ours never ended. The Drax rule now. They destroy everything that resists them. Eli rubbed his face, still weak. And you found me. Karen nodded. Your ship's signal brought us here. It kept repeating one word. Hope. Eli's eyes filled with emotion. Hope? It was my father's message. He said, if everything falls, send hope into the stars. Someone will need it. Outside, explosions rocked the Vernus star. The comms crackled again. Captain. They've breached Deck 3. Karen turned to Eli. We have to leave now. He tried to stand but stumbled. The stars looked calm again, but inside the Vernus star, everyone knew peace wouldn't last. The crew was tired, wounded, and confused after their narrow escape. The Drax Dominion wouldn't stop hunting them now. Captain Karen Vale stood at the viewing deck, staring into the endless dark. Her ship was damaged. Her people were scared. They had lost half their power cells during the fight. Behind her, footsteps echoed. It was the human Eli Cross. He still looked weak from cryosleep, wearing a borrowed Tyrax jacket that hung too large on his shoulders. But his eyes, sharp, calm, steady, seemed alive in a way Karen hadn't seen in years. You should rest, she said quietly. Your body still needs time to adjust. Eli smiled faintly. You sound like my old ship's doctor. He said that too. Karen glanced at him. He was right. Eli walked closer, looking at the stars. Beautiful, he said softly. Still the same after all this time? Karen nodded. The stars survived. I just wish our worlds had done the same. Eli studied her face. You said the Drax rule everything now. Tell me, what happened? Karen sighed. They rose after your people vanished. They built fleets no one could match. Their war never stopped. Every race that fought them was destroyed or enslaved. The Tyrax Alliance once stood for peace and unity. Now we're scattered fragments. She looked at him. You've seen what they can do. They will come for us again. Eli was silent for a moment, then said calmly, Then we prepare for them. Karen frowned. Prepare with what? We have one ship, one crew, and a broken engine. Eli's lips curved into a small smile. That's more than enough to start with. Later that day, the engineering deck buzzed with strange sounds. Eli moved among alien machines like he'd worked with them for years. The engineers watched curiously as he opened panels, rerouted wires, and scribbled on a small datapad. What are you doing? Rin asked, standing beside him. Your power system's design is brilliant, Eli said, but it's incomplete. You're wasting half your energy through cooling lines. Rin blinked. Incomplete? This design has been used for centuries. Eli grinned. Yeah, and you've been losing power for centuries, too. He adjusted a control node. Sparks flew and a low hum filled the air. The ship's lights grew brighter. See? He said. Efficiency up by 30%. Rin stared in disbelief. How did you do that? Eli shrugged. Old human trick. Work smarter, not harder. For the first time in a long while, the alien crew laughed. The tension lifted slightly. Even Karen smiled from the upper deck, watching the scene. In the following days, Eli spent time with everyone. Pilots, engineers, medics, and even the youngest technician, who had lost both parents in the war. He listened to their stories. He didn't give orders. He gave them hope. He told them stories of old Earth, of times when humanity had almost fallen but refused to give up. He spoke of explorers who sailed into black oceans with nothing but courage, of soldiers who fought not for power but for each other, of builders who rebuilt worlds after everything was lost. The aliens listened in silence. His words were strange, simple, but they touched something deep inside them. Karen once found her crew gathered around him in the hangar bay as he repaired a drone. And when the fire cleared, Eli was saying, the human ship still stood. Because hope isn't about winning every battle. It's about standing back up after you lose. One young alien whispered, Did they survive? Eli smiled. Of course they did. Because they believed they could. Karen felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. Her crew had been soldiers too long, living in fear and orders. But now, for the first time, they were listening again, believing again. That night, Karen joined Eli in the command room. He was studying a star map projected in front of him. The map showed hundreds of ruined worlds, systems under Drax control. What are you looking for? She asked. Patterns, he said. Weaknesses. Every empire has them. Karen crossed her arms. The Drax have none. Their fleets are endless. Their ships are stronger, faster, and more advanced than anything we have. Eli nodded slowly. That's what every enemy says until they meet a human. She raised an eyebrow. You really think you can beat them? Eli didn't look up. Not yet. But I can make them afraid. He pointed to a red-marked zone near the edge of Drax territory. This planet, Varos III. The Drax use it as a fuel depot. If we hit it, even a small attack will make them react. They'll have to spread their fleets thinner. Karen frowned. You want to attack them? With one ship? Eli smiled. Exactly. Because they'll never expect it. She shook her head. That's insane. Maybe, he said quietly. But hope always sounds insane before it works. The next morning, the Verney Star prepared for battle. It had been years since anyone on that ship felt ready for a fight. Yet now the air was different. Eli worked side by side with Karen's engineers, building strange new devices from scraps, decoys, sensor jammers, and something he called a plasma ghost. He explained it would make their ship appear in multiple places at once. Karen watched as her crew followed his every command with energy she hadn't seen since before the war. Even Rin, once skeptical, now called him Commander Cross. When all was ready, Karen approached him on the bridge. You understand if we fail, the Drax will hunt us across the galaxy. Eli looked at her calmly. They already are. But if we succeed, we'll give others a reason to rise, she nodded slowly. Then let's begin. The Verney Star dropped out of warp near Varos III. The planet glowed with Drax energy grids and towers. Dozens of ships orbited above it. Scanning, said Rin. They have planetary shields and orbital cannons. We can't get close. Eli leaned forward. We don't need to. Launch the plasma ghosts. Karen pressed the command. 3 small drones shot out from the ship, glowing bright. Within seconds, the Drax scanners picked up multiple fake signatures, each looking like a full-sized battleship. They're turning toward the decoys. Rin shouted. Good, Eli said. Now take us into the shadow of the moon. The Verney Star slipped under the moon's dark side. From there, Eli fired a single torpedo into the planet's surface. The explosion hit the main fuel core. Flames erupted through the Drax outpost. Karen watched in awe. One shot? Eli nodded. Sometimes that's all it takes to light a spark. The Drax ships turned in confusion, firing in all directions. The Verney Star disappeared into hyperspace just as the entire fuel base exploded into light. Hours later, as the ship flew through safe space, Karen turned to Eli. You did it. You made them bleed. Eli looked tired but calm. It's not about that. It's about what comes next. The galaxy will hear this story. They'll know someone fought back. Karen's voice softened. They'll know a human fought back. Eli smiled faintly. No, they'll know Hope did. She studied him for a long moment. You talk about hope like it's alive. He looked out at the stars. It is. You just have to remind people how to see it. And for the first time since the war began, Karen believed him. Somewhere in the dark corners of the galaxy, word began to spread. A lone ship had destroyed a Drax base. A mysterious human had returned. And with him, hope itself was rising again. The bridge of the alien cruiser Varen's light was silent. Every screen, every light, every sensor focused on that single small human craft. The word hope still glowed on the monitors like a whisper that refused to fade. Captain Karen Vale stood at the center, her 4 hands gripping the console. Her crew looked at her, waiting for an order. But she didn't speak. She couldn't. She was watching something impossible. The human craft was changing. It had been a broken wreck before, dark and lifeless. Now faint light began to run along its surface. Lines of blue energy pulsing like veins under metal skin. Power levels are rising, said her science officer Vesh. His voice trembled. But there's no reactor active. It's like the ship is waking up. Karen's heart pounded. Is there a pilot? No signs of life, Vesh said, but there's something else. He turned one of the displays toward her. A sound pattern was repeating in the transmission, soft, rhythmic. It wasn't language, it was music, she whispered. Yes, Vesh nodded. Human music, from their old archives. The title says, We Will Rise Again. The crew looked at each other in silence. For aliens who had only known war, destruction, and loss, that simple tune felt like a voice from another time. Suddenly, the ship's sensors blared. Incoming signature, shouted the tactical officer. Karen snapped back to command. Who is it? The officer's eyes widened. Tyrax warships. 3 of them. They've followed us here. Karen cursed under her breath. They must have traced our jump signal. All ships, battle stations. The massive Tyrax ships appeared out of the void, their hulls scarred but still deadly. They opened a channel, and a cruel voice echoed through the bridge. Captain Karen Vale, said Commander Rortan, her former superior. You disobeyed direct orders. You followed false hope. Stand down and surrender your ship. Karen glared at the screen. We found something. Something real. There's a human signal here. Rortan laughed. A ghost story. There are no humans left. You've doomed your crew chasing myths. Before Karen could reply, the human craft suddenly sent out a burst of light, a wave of energy so bright that everyone shielded their eyes. The wave passed harmlessly through their ship, but the Tyrax fleet was hit full on. Their systems flickered. Engines died. Weapons failed. What was that? Shouted Vesh. Karen stared at the human craft. It now glowed brighter than ever, as if alive. It protected us. The Varan's light moved through the darkness faster than thought. Stars blurred into long white trails as the ship followed the human signal through uncharted space. On the bridge, every crew member sat in silence, their eyes locked on the glowing coordinates at the center of the screen. Captain Karen Vale stood tall, her face calm, but her heart uneasy. The human message still echoed in her mind. We are not gone. We are watching. When hope dies, we rise. What did it mean? Were humans truly alive somewhere? Or was this only a machine repeating an ancient dream? Captain, said her helmsman, voice soft but firm. We are approaching the destination. Drop from jump, Karen ordered. The stars snapped back into focus. Before them hung a lonely system, a dim star surrounded by dead worlds. No life. No heat. Nothing. At first glance, it looked like a graveyard. Then the sensors screamed to life. Massive readings below, shouted Vesh, the science officer. Energy deep under the surface of the 3rd planet. It's faint, but it's human. Karen's eyes widened. Human? Yes, the same pattern as the signal. There's something alive down there, or something that wants to be found. Karen didn't hesitate. Set course for the planet. As the ship entered the dead planet's orbit, the crew gazed at a world of ashes. Cracked deserts, frozen oceans, the remains of cities buried under dust. Vesh whispered, It's ancient, at least 10,000 years old. But Captain, this wasn't a human world, Karen frowned. Then what is it? Vesh looked up. A tomb. They landed near a huge metal crater, half buried under centuries of storms. In the center stood a black monolith taller than the ship itself. Strange symbols ran across its surface, glowing faintly with human script. Karen and her team stepped out in protective suits. The wind howled across the wasteland, carrying the dry whisper of forgotten voices. She raised a hand to the monolith. The moment she touched it, the symbols flared to life. A deep hum filled the air. The ground trembled. Then slowly the surface of the monolith cracked open, revealing a doorway. The crew stepped back in shock. Karen looked at them, her eyes shining with awe. We're going in. Inside was a vast chamber glowing with blue light. Machines floated silently in the air, powered by energy older than any alien empire. In the center stood a single pod, transparent, silent, human. Inside it was a man. His face was calm, peaceful, as if asleep. His skin pale from centuries of stasis. Vesh's voice shook. He's human, Captain. Genetic scans confirm it. 100%, Karen's heart pounded. A real human. A living one. She took a deep breath. Can we wake him? Vesh hesitated. I don't know. The systems are ancient, but something's keeping him alive. As if hearing their voices, the pod lights flickered. A soft pulse came from the machines, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. Then suddenly the man's eyes opened. Every crew member froze. The human looked at them through the glass, his gaze calm, almost sad. Then the pod released a hiss and the cover slid open. He sat up slowly, breathing deeply for the first time in millennia. Karen stepped forward. I am Captain Karen Vale of the Tyrax. You are among friends. The man looked at her, confused but curious. Tyrax, he murmured. His voice was quiet, deep, and full of memory. So it's been that long. Karen nodded. We thought humans were gone. The man smiled faintly. We were never gone, just waiting. Waiting for what? Karen asked. For the galaxy to remember what hope feels like, he said softly. We built something before the fall. A guardian. A message. You must have found it. Karen nodded slowly. A ship. It called itself Hope. It saved us. The man closed his eyes. Good, then the plan worked. He stood, his movements unsteady but strong. My name is Elias Ward. I was part of Project Dawnfire, our final act before humanity vanished. We knew the galaxy would fall into darkness again one day, so we left behind our last light, to guide whoever was left. Karen's voice trembled. You mean, you knew this would happen? Elias nodded. War, despair, endless chaos. We saw it coming. But we also believed that someone, somewhere, would still listen when they heard that one word. Hope. The chamber's walls suddenly came alive, showing holographic maps of the galaxy, ancient human colonies, lost fleets, forgotten worlds. One by one, points of light began to glow across the darkness. Karen gasped. Are those human outposts? Elias said. Hidden, sleeping, waiting to be awakened. The light spread wider and wider, forming a web across the stars. Vesh whispered, There are thousands of them. Elias turned toward Karen. The time has come to remind the galaxy who we were and who we still are. But I cannot do it alone. Will you help me? Karen stared at him for a long moment. Then she extended her hand. We will. Elias smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the glowing map. Then hope lives again. But just as those words left his mouth, alarms rang through the chamber. The Varan's light called in, enemy ships approaching fast. Tyrax reinforcements. Karen looked up sharply. They found us. Elias's expression darkened. Then we have no more time to wait. He placed his hand on the monolith and the entire planet began to shake. Massive structures rose from the sand, ancient human towers awakening after ages of sleep. Vesh shouted, What are you doing? Elias turned toward them. Bringing dawn back to a galaxy that forgot the light, the sky turned white, and hope became a weapon. The ground shook beneath Captain Karenval's feet. The planet that had slept for 10,000 years was now alive again. Towers of light rose from the dust, ancient human machines waking one by one. The sky burned with energy. Blue lightning split across the clouds. The monoliths around the landing site began to hum, their glowing cores syncing together like a heartbeat. Karen shouted over the roar, Elias! What's happening? The human turned toward her, his calm eyes glowing faintly with reflected light. Project Dawnfire is waking up, he said. It was humanity's final act before we disappeared. A defense network powered by emotion, by belief itself. Karen stared at him in disbelief. Powered by belief? Elias nodded. By hope. It listens to the hearts of living minds. When a world believes again, when they refuse to surrender, the network answers. Before Karen could respond, the voice of her helmsman came through the communicator, full of panic. Captain, enemy ships just dropped from hyperspace. A full Tyrax fleet, over 100 vessels. They're charging weapons. Karen's eyes hardened. Hold position. We're bringing the captain and the human up now. But Elias shook his head. No, if I leave, the process will stop. The system needs a human signal to stay awake. Karen hesitated. If you stay, you'll die. He smiled softly. Then I'll do what my people were meant to do. I'll give the galaxy one last reason to believe. The ground trembled again. Great beams of light rose from the towers and connected in the sky, forming a vast circle above the planet. In the center, a star-like burst began to form. Karen's communicator blared again. Captain, they're firing! In orbit, hundreds of Tyrax warships opened fire at once. Red energy bolts rained down toward the planet. But before the first blast could reach the surface, the circle of light ignited. A shimmering barrier appeared, wrapping the world in a blue shield. The Tyrax weapon struck it and vanished like sparks in the ocean. On the bridge of the Varan's light, the crew watched in silent awe. The dead planet now glowed like a second sun, impossible and beautiful. Captain, whispered Vesh, the shield. It's made of human nanite energy. It's protecting not just the planet, but us too. Karen stared at the display. He's doing it. He's protecting everyone. Down on the surface, Elias stood before the main console, his hands resting on its glowing surface. Data streamed all around him, written in human code. His face was calm, almost peaceful. Karin stepped closer. Elias, you said this network runs on belief. But how can it know? He looked at her and smiled faintly. Because that's what makes us human. Not our strength, not our weapons, but the fire that refuses to die, even in the dark. The network doesn't need power. It needs hearts that still believe there's something worth saving. He turned back to the console. Your people still believe. That's why it woke. Karen's eyes softened. Then let it see how much more we can believe. She activated her communicator. To all Tyrax ships still loyal to me, stand down. Do not fire. Watch and remember what hope looks like. Somewhere in orbit, Tyrax crews paused as they watched the human light shield hold back the enemy's fire. Even the most hardened soldiers hesitated. The sight was too powerful, too alive. But the enemy commander, Roartan, would not stop. He appeared on the Varen's Light's comm screen, his face twisted with anger. You think this human trick will save you? You chase ghosts, Karen. There are no gods left, only war. Karen glared at him. Then you've already lost. Because even now you don't understand what you're fighting. Elias's voice came through the speakers, calm and steady. You're right, Commander. There are no gods left. Only us. Then the circle of light in the sky exploded outward. Waves of blue energy swept through space, harmless to life but deadly to weapons. The Tyrax fleet's engines failed. Their reactors went dark. One by one, their warships drifted powerless, caught in the light of human hope reborn. Vesh gasped. Captain, their ships are shutting down across the system. Karen whispered. He's not destroying them. He's freeing them. Freeing? Yes, she said softly. From fear, from hate. That's what this power does. It shows them what they forgot. Down below, Elias was fading. His skin glowed faintly with blue light. The energy